Okay, week in review 10-10-22. As some of you have noticed, I missed last week's week in review, and since when I started these a few months ago, that's the first one I've missed, and so I'm really not super stoked about that. But when I have a routine like this, or I have something scheduled that I want to do on a regular basis, I try to hit that. But I have a good reason. I was in Brazil, and we arrived in Brazil that day. It was our first day there. I was going to try to do it from Brazil, but our schedule was so hectic that I wasn't able to make it happen on that day. So we'll talk about the Brazil trip later, but the last week's week in review, I apologize for not hitting. Even when I travel, I'm still going to try to stay on the Monday cadence of hitting these up. Because I'm going to talk about basically 2 weeks, I'm going to, for this week in review, I'm going to skip the comment section of reviewing comments from essentially 2 week in reviews from 2 weeks ago. So let's kick it off with just some discussion and going through the last couple of weeks. So 2 weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, I posted a workout on my Instagram account, and it was swim 100, and I think it was 20 deadlifts. I'm writing it down. 5 rounds. 5 rounds of swim 100 and 20 deadlifts. And I put in the comments, this is funny, I put that I didn't time it. I did it not for time. Here was the unsaid part. The only reason I didn't time it was because when I went out to the pool and actually did the workout, had everything set up, I forgot my Apple Watch, or I forgot a watch. I forgot a method of timing. And so I actually didn't want to go into the house and grab a timer. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll just do the workout, not for time. So that being said, there was comments, I think initiated by Max from Training Think Tank, where he basically said, is that even CrossFit? And so a bunch of people got into it, and there's a bunch of discussion around that point. Is it CrossFit? For me, absolutely, it's 100% CrossFit. Just because I did not do it for time does not mean I did it with low intensity. And even if I did do it with low intensity or lower intensity, it's still, I still viewed it as CrossFit. It still for me was a CrossFit workout. Remember, intensity is relative to our psychological and physiological tolerances. Basically, where you are in your journey of the methodology can dictate how intense you go. And on this day, for example, it was at the end of a long day. I was tired, and my psychological tolerance wasn't super high for intensity. So if I were to classify how hard I went on that workout, I'd say 50 to 60% intensity. But like, I wasn't there mentally to go harder. Did I still get a lot out of it? Of course. I mean, I'm still moving. It still was something very beneficial for me to do that day, even if I'm not timing it and able to completely max out the intensity. Now let's look at this and see, how could this not be CrossFit? 5 rounds, swim 100, 20 deadlifts. I'd say a version of this that starts to not look like CrossFit is if we said swim 100, rest 3 minutes, 20 deadlifts, rest 3 minutes, repeat 5 times. Then you could say it starts to look less like CrossFit, but I would contend if you swam that 100 at a relatively high level of intensity, rested 3 minutes, and then did those 20 deadlifts at a relatively high level of intensity, it's still CrossFit, or very much CrossFit-like. Furthermore, I'll tell you exactly how we could write this out and say it is almost for sure not CrossFit. Swim 100 with very low intensity, rest 3 minutes, and then 5 sets of 4 deadlifts, very low intensity, rest, or very little, lightweight, rest 3 minutes, repeat. Now I'm saying that's not CrossFit to drive home a point. Actually, you could see that workout if I'd have posted that, swim 100 with 3 minutes rest, no intensity, multiple sets of 20 deadlifts, 3 minutes rest, repeat this 5 times. I'd say there'd be a stronger argument there to say this isn't CrossFit. But here's the catcher. What's more important, whenever anyone says a single workout isn't CrossFit, I have to say, and I default to, I need to see more. And here's what I mean by that. So what if the next day is 1 rep max deadlift, and it's that really low intensity workout I just described to you, and then it's 1 rep max deadlift. Those two alone, again, I'm going to say, okay, this still kind of doesn't look like CrossFit. But let's say the first day in that cycle is Fran. So Fran, and then that low intensity version I just described to you, and then 1 rep max deadlift. Yeah, when you look at it in totality, when you look at the big picture, this person is definitely doing a CrossFit-like program. Same could be said if you put your hand over these two and just look at 1 rep max deadlift. I could post a 1 rep max deadlift and Max or someone else could have said, you're not doing CrossFit. That's not CrossFit. It's not CrossFit if 1 rep max deadlift, sure. And then it's 1 rep max back squat. And then over here it's shoulder press, 3x3. You have to take a look at the big picture. Although even that example I just described, zooming way out, if I look at an athlete or if I look at someone who's targeting strength as part of a CrossFit program, it could still be CrossFit. So the question of what's CrossFit and what's not is way more nuanced than just looking at one workout where I posted that it was done with without for time because I forgot to watch. I didn't put that part. It's more nuanced than that, and there's way more detail, and really you have to look into. I hope this displays correctly because as I'm looking at it, it looks backwards. So when I post this video, I hope it framed up the right way or this was pointless. Anyways, so there's way more to it than just looking at one workout and saying that's not CrossFit. I told him I'd love to have the discussion with him, and I would, and I'd love to have that discussion with anyone. And also the other thing, it's clearly if Dave Castro is posting a workout like that, you can assume it's CrossFit because I've been doing CrossFit, so let's talk about this, since 2004 or 5, and continually have never not done CrossFit as my way of training. So almost 20 years. And I don't see a future where I'm not doing CrossFit. Like it's just the only way I like to train. And in that, there's a lot of days where my intensity and my output isn't at 100%. I'm not always going balls to the wall on every workout anymore. And that's personal choice where I'm at in the journey. I hope that appeared the right way. Last week I had a drop-in, or 2 weeks ago, somewhere 2 weeks ago. He was this really nice guy from, he actually works for Apple. He lives in Miami or Florida, and then he comes out here to the Bay Area to meet up with his team occasionally, and put him through a cool little deadlift and echo bike workout. So 10 down to 1 of, did I say deadlift? I did say deadlift. 10 down to 1 of wall ball and echo bike, and 10 wall ball, 10 echo bike calories, all the way down to 1. And he had a big heart. He was not as in shape as a lot of other people who come and train here, so I didn't want to have him run up the hill 4 or 5 times. I had him run up once, and that was plenty. But he had a big heart and a lot of character. Really appreciated that drop in. That this 2 weeks ago, or so 2 weeks ago, I also had a couple different. I had a shit ton going on with CrossFit work, a lot of calls, meetings in Santa Cruz, but I was able to squeeze in. I had some scheduled training sessions with Watsonville PD. Those guys come out a lot. It's the local police department, not far from the ranch. We did some sniper training, and then on Friday, the Santa Clara PD, they came out and I gave them some training on the Kestrel. The Kestrel helps get atmospherics, and it's a ballistic calculator essentially. And so we went through that, gave them a class, and then we took it up to the range and actually put it in application and tested it out. So 2 PDs last week. Again, I've said this on another week in review. 2 is too many, especially now that I'm really leaning into the CrossFit stuff again. I think 1 a week, but I'm able to, makes more sense than having 2 in a week. But I also don't like when those guys come out, and I'm very open about this because I'm training for free. It's not like a 9 to 5. It's just 3 or 4 hours. We just hit some stuff, and then we move on. Then Sunday. Sunday I flew to Brazil, and that was a very long trip, a very long flight. For some reason, it just felt like it took forever to get there, and it was actually a red eye. I didn't even realize that. I oftentimes don't check my travel plans until it comes up, but flew from San Francisco to Houston, then Houston to Rio. Landed in Rio early in the morning. Went through, met up with Ricardino, our host, level 1 seminar staff, country manager. Then we drove to the hotel, and first thing we did was get checked in, and we met with the Brazilian team, the seminar staff, and some of the other members of Ricardino's country manager team. We hung out, and this was the day this was Monday, so I was planning on filming the week in review, but I just never got to it because we were moving very quickly. We had a very full schedule. So met with the team, and then from there went down to the restaurant, and we met with departed gyms. And I will say this, so he had about 10 departed gyms from Rio attend the meeting. That's kind of cool, and here's why I say it's cool. I meant to tell them this there, but I just didn't get around to it because I was listening more than talking. In my time with CrossFit, which has been 17, 18 years, we have never organized, at least with me there, I don't think we have with anyone else either, meetings with organized or with departed affiliates like this. And so that was cool. This group was pretty chill. This group, the Sao Paulo group we talked to, didn't have many questions. I think the language barrier was part of it, but a lot of them were excited about CrossFit and the direction we're going, and we're definitely still considering coming back. For the Brazilian affiliates in general, a lot of the departures have to do with the economy and the state of affairs there for their finances, essentially. So, but that was good. And then after that, we went to an affiliate and met with some affiliates from the area, talked to them for a bit, and then we went to another gym for a workout in the evening, and the workout was Fight Gone Bad. I haven't done Fight Gone Bad in years. I don't know how long it's since I've done Fight Gone Bad. And there were so many people there. There was probably 40 or 50 people doing the workout, and then there was another 30 or 40 watching the workout. What's really cool about Fight Gone Bad, and in my mind, why it was a good workout to do, well, A, I had nobody scoring me, so I quickly lost track of my score. So there was no pressure. I wasn't able to keep track of my reps, and I didn't even try. Nobody had anyone scoring then, although you were supposed to keep track of your reps. But also, it's going to end, meaning 1 minute rotate, and it's 15 minutes long, 17 when you include the 2 minutes of rest. And it's not like if we did Nancy, for example, something that was 5 rounds of run 400, 15 overhead squats for time. There, I would have been exposed and in the very back, and it would have been embarrassing as I'm the last one finishing. So even though Fight Gone Bad is such a horrible, it's a great workout, but such a horrible workout, I enjoyed it because I was able to kind of just blend in and hide. I still went hard. I still did that one with intensity. I just don't remember I couldn't keep track of my reps by myself like that. So that was, and the trench, it was so hot, and it was just hot in that gym and hot in Rio that evening. So changed t-shirt from my drenched t-shirt, and then went to a dinner with a bunch of affiliates, and that was a really good time. Spoke with affiliates. At this point, I was exhausted too. We went back to our hotel around 10 and went to bed. The next morning, had a visit and tour with BOPE. BOPE is this special forces unit in Rio that's well known. There's actually a movie called, what the fuck's the movie called? I forgot the name of the movie. But there's a good movie that came out maybe a decade ago about this unit, and they're highly trained unit that goes into the favelas and deals with bad guys. And they're feared in Brazil, and it was cool seeing their compound. We walked through a favela, like they said, literally the only favela we could walk through in Rio, and it's connected to their compound essentially. So they told us they moved into that favela 10 years ago, and first thing they had to do was clean it out, and they quickly cleaned it out. And then we even got to shoot with them. We shot some pistols. They showed us their gear. I always like meeting units like that because of my background, and seeing their training facilities and their what they do and what they have. After that, we went back to one of the affiliates we visited the day before, had a Q&A, a really long Q&A with affiliates from Rio and the area. And from there, went to a nice dinner, or actually lunch, at this steakhouse, and then went to the airport where we flew to Fortaleza. And got there in the evening, had dinner, and went to sleep. And I felt like at this point, like everything's just catching up. Like it's a lot of movement. Go, go, go. Not a lot of sleep, getting tired. Next morning, Don and a few, I think Ricardino, they actually went surfing. Don said, hey, are you going to go surfing with us? A, I don't surf. And B, I needed the rest. And I said, no, I'm going to sleep in. So I think Gary went and worked out. Gary will work out in addition to all the other workouts multiple times a day. It's also why he's always injured. So Gary worked out in the morning. And then we went and visited a couple affiliates, and then went to another Pareo CrossFit to do a workout. I saw the workout written on the board, and it was 30 pull-ups, 1 round of DT, 20 pull-ups, 1 round of DT, 10 pull-ups, 1 round of DT, chest to bar. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's not so bad. Well, then we and again, this workout had like 40 or 50 people there doing it. But he turned it into a partner workout. And it was actually, the partner version was 5 rounds of 20 pull-ups and 1 round of DT. So I partnered up with one of our female translators from Brazil, and we tackled the workout, and it was really tough. I didn't even realize it, but at the time, he had a 20-minute time cap. We finished in about 19:05, and first round, I used not 155, probably, I think it was 135. Second, third, and fourth rounds, I went down to probably, I think it was 125. I'm doing the kilo conversion. And then maybe it was 145 in the first round and 135 on rounds 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4. And then round 5, I went back up to the heavier weight and used, let's call it 145. That's a tough. Oh, and on the chest to bar, for most rounds, I took a majority of the reps, and that was another tough workout. So 2 tough workouts in a row in Brazil. I felt like they were trying to hammer us. After that, we went to the beach, had a Q&A with affiliates at this little restaurant on the beach. That was another long one, but really good engagement. From there, we went to back to the hotel, and then met with departed affiliates. This one was a little more heated, a little more contentious. Not contentious, but they were very passionate, and they had a few more pointed examples of things we should be doing, what they want to see from us, and it was more intense for sure than the meeting with affiliates in Rio, but good. At the end, we were all in a good place and had a good discussion with them, and Ricardino did great. He translated, and there was one affiliate who was upset at him about an event a year ago or something that affiliate wasn't allowed to attend because he wasn't an affiliate anymore. And so there's just a lot of things that needed to be worked out. And one guy actually was talking about, like, he just didn't feel like anyone fundamentally ever gave him a hug. So during the meeting, I walked over and gave him a hug, and at least it broke the ice for a moment. So that, and again, like, those type of meetings are new to me. I don't know if Gary and his team have done them in the past couple of years with other people, but it was something interesting. Then Thursday, I flew home. And again, same sort of thing. I departed on Thursday, but I didn't get home till Friday. So didn't actually get home till Friday around noon. And it was basically 30 hours of travel. So from Fortaleza, I had to fly back to Rio. Rio had a huge layover. From Rio, flew to Houston, had a decent layover, not too big of a layover there, a decent layover there, and then flew to San Francisco. San Francisco, drove home. And so I was home on Friday. I came right to the range, sighted in my gun. There was a big competition. Oh, actually, nope, I almost forgot one piece. Yeah, no, I'm in the right order. Came home, went right to the range, sighted in my gun, made sure my rifle was all set and ready for a big 2-day competition in Hollister on Saturday and Sunday. Those guys, and that's the main reason why I came home. Those guys continued on with the trip. They ended up going to Ecuador, and they didn't get home till Sunday. But I had this shooting trip planned for months. So even before I came back to CrossFit, so I was committed to it, and it was a local one. So I was going to do it. But sighted my gun, got everything set up. Going into a shooting tournament coming from Brazil like that is not ideal, not how I wanted to handle it, but you got to do what you got to do. Got everything set up, got everything packed, and then I went to Greg's house. Greg Glassman was having a Broken Science conference, and that was super cool because he had a bunch of presenter. Well, he had a specific presenter there, William Briggs, who actually on the flight over, I started reading his book completely that Greg gave to me, completely unrelated to that event. I had no idea that Greg was going to have that guy present, and he was going to be a keynote speaker at the event. And so it was cool to, I'm still reading the book, I haven't finished it. Cool to meet William Briggs and listen to him lecture about his book and his concepts while going there on Friday. Hung out, was exhausted still at this point. Hung out with Greg and all his guests there. Saw a lot of people I haven't seen in years. That was a good time, but then bailed quickly. Didn't stay too long. Listened to Greg present, listened to everything going on. Went home, got some sleep, woke up. Next day, Saturday, went and shot day one of a 2-day precision rifle match. And day one, I shot great. It was 10 stages long. Stages 1 through 8 were great, dropped very few rounds. And then stages 9 and 10, massive, the wheels came off. 9, I made a major mistake. I had the turret was dialed all the way around once. I forgot to go down to 0. And I just blew the stage out the water, dropped a ton of points. Went to the final stage, stage 10. Same thing. Not the same thing. Different issue. My head was out of sorts, and I didn't make the right calls, corrections, and I did really poorly on the last 2 stages. So I was trending really well on day 1, and the last 2 stages performed poorly. Went home, saw the results. I was like in 26th place out of 77 shooters. I didn't want to blame it on being tired or anything like that or not feeling good. Then went back on day 2, and I was just like, all right, just got to shoot strong, shoot well, and just stay focused. And had a great day 2. 5 stages in, it only dropped 2 or 3 points, cleaned a bunch of stages. Last couple stages, dropped a couple more points, and I was able to bump up from 26th place and finish at 13th place overall for the match. So I was happy with the rebound. So overall happy with the match and the rebound. Disappointed with the day 1, those 2 stages. Had I not had those, I would for sure been in the top 10, if not much higher. And but that's it. Like, that's the game. Everybody probably has 1 or 2 stages that they're talking about right now, but I shouldn't. And I don't strive to have that issue. I don't train for those things to happen. So I will fix that, and I will come back a better shooter next time. So that's week in review 10-10-22. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section at the bottom. All right. Thank you.